Hello, I'm Matt Bonds.
And I'm Pat Hickey.
And today we're with Mr. Schenker. Mr. Schenker, thank you for joining us back on our Top Talk. Hope you and your family are staying safe.
We are, and I hope the same to you and obviously all of our viewers online now in this distance learning world.
Me and Pat did come up with some questions and some general questions about school and the global health crisis, and we were wondering if you can answer some. Question is, what happens with all the senior activities, like football first, like prom?
So the biggest, I think the biggest blow to schools, especially high schools, are when you start thinking about all the end of year events, whether that be senior events like prom, graduation, obviously huge, but even the underclass awards and the other awards ceremony, sports awards, spring sports, all those things that were impacted. So it's tremendously impactful on seniors especially, but certainly across the high school. So some of the more particular events like prom in particular, and I actually just had a regional meeting with my principal colleagues around Westchester last night, talking about what everyone is doing and how everyone is handling this. And with the exception of one school that already actually canceled their prom, everyone is really trying to hold back on making any final decision to see what happens when May 15th comes. Will the governor remove some of these social gathering restrictions? Will there be some easing, of some of the rules that are currently, safeguarding us? And if there is, then I think we have a lot of quick decisions to make and a lot of fast-paced decisions to make. But could we come up with some gathering? Could we come up with something that is compliant with health and safety, while also giving seniors an opportunity to have something meaningful or at least resembling a prom-like experience?
Thank you. And like the same kind of question, like for towards like graduation, like is that going to be towards like kind of the same thing, or?
I think graduation to me is actually even more impactful, as much as that may hurt some seniors to say that graduation is more important than prom. Symbolically, as well as really what it signifies, graduation is extremely important. In comparison to all the events that seniors experience through their 13 years of school, high school graduation is the most momentous occasion. So I think we have some options, and we've begun to explore some of those options. As you guys were part of the senior meeting on Friday that we had, which was great to see over 100 seniors sign into that. There is almost, I would say, probably unanimous consent or unanimous agreement among seniors that at all costs they're trying to avoid a virtual graduation. Yeah. Right? That wouldn't be my ideal scenario either. So I think we have a few things to explore with graduation, and I actually really want to take the time to come up with something that can be the most personal, the most, I would say, memorable, while also being safe. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that because graduation is further out than where prom normally is, we have a few more weeks of time to really kind of let things unfold, possibly see the restructuring or reduction of some of the controls that are in place right now. And either that means doing something where maybe we could gather on the campus, but maybe it's a limited capacity. Maybe it is just the graduates and their parents. There are no other family. There is no band playing. There is nothing else. But it is something symbolic to what it means to graduate from high school.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So, do you believe we're going to have school in the summer?
I would say it would be very, if you take it from a practical standpoint, right? All the things that would have to be negotiated and worked out, not only with families, with students, with teachers, the likelihood of pulling all those things together to then enforce a summertime continuation of this type of learning. I think people, you guys are seeing in the news now, you're seeing national protests around just being locked in your home. Imagine a student uprising if we said this distance learning would continue throughout July and August.
Yeah,
I think we might have something similar from students. At some point, we are going to have to face a couple realities, right? First reality is this is not the most ideal learning environment. Educators know it. I think students know it. So it's not the most ideal. It is right now, I think, a Band-Aid on a very serious worldwide issue, pandemic. But it is not the answer to what meaningful education and learning looks like. So to continue something like this in the summer wouldn't, in my mind, wouldn't be a wise use of everyone's summertime. I think people are going to need, and this is the second consideration, I think people are going to need some time off, because what happens if we come back to school in the fall and we see a resurgence of this in late fall and we're put back into a distance learning environment again? Are people going to be ready and willing to do that after spending the entire summer also in a distance learning environment? I think at some point students and adults are going to have some burnout.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So our next question is like all of sports are canceled, or they're gonna maybe pick up back, or is it just done?
So I think, it's interesting. This section, our section 1, as with all the sections across the state, have been in constant kind of communication with athletic directors. I know that our coaches obviously are staying connected with their teams through distance learning and doing some routines and workout, videos and the like to keep people at least engaged. If you think about it from a practical point of view, again, right, the further out we push that return date, the further out past May 15th it goes, without knowing that students have adequately practiced, stretched, warmed up muscles, done all that, and you build that in. I don't know if there's going to be any real sense of true seasonal competition. If we were to be brought back, is there the potential for hosting some, what I would say, scrimmage-like games, and at least getting some chance to get on the field if you were looking forward to baseball, softball, lacrosse, or the like? Is there some chance of doing some of that? There might be, and I think it all depends on that date. May 15th, is where we got our eyes set right now. If May 15th means that we get a green light to say June 1st, you guys are going to be able to up and run, we might get a few scrimmage games in. It might be exhibition games only and not really count towards any season, but at least it gives our athletes a chance to get out there.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so another question we have is for the upcoming year, do you believe school will be ready to open in September?
I think from a facilities point of view, we certainly will be. Even in the days before we closed down, our custodial staff, and under the direction of Mr. Strack, our facilities director, really ramped up their cleaning routines. They really ramped up the sanitation routines that they had, the sanitizing routines, and the machinery that actually our district purchased a couple of years ago, really because of the bad flu season we had a couple of years ago, really sets us up for making sure that the buildings are going to be clean and ready to open. Instructionally speaking, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be, as long as we are given enough notice about when does all this come to a close, right? When does the distance learning come to a close, and when can we actually start turning our sights towards next year and planning? As you guys know, I have to start building the master schedule next year. That usually starts literally right around this time frame when I start building it. I need to start getting that up and running, so I will be prepared with a schedule. Our buildings will be prepared to be clean and ready and safe. We just need the green light from our government to say go ahead.
Yeah. And then one of our last questions is, what about the final exam week, and when would school end? If you think, what would you think?
So I think, as I said to the seniors, in our meeting on Friday, and I'll be releasing it, I'm going to be releasing just an overall plan for what's the actual weight of all of our quarters now that we, kind of have third quarter kind of rolled into this super quarter, this fourth quarter. What's the actual weight of all of our quarters? When I roll that plan out, you'll see this in writing going to all students, but there is not going to be, I've met with all the departments, there is not going to be a final exam week. Regents exams, as you guys know, have been canceled at the state level. So there are no final exams collectively across all subjects, all departments. So that being said, there's really only a couple things that are going to occur, where typically school would have ended on that June 15th and we would have transitioned into exam period. We're waiting on direction from, once again, from the governor's office, what's going to be the requirement, for distance learning. Are we going to continue through and up to June 25th, the end? Is there going to be some allowance given to schools to decide, like our seniors done? Do I get to make that call? And the like. So it's a lot of it is still up in the air with regards to direction from the governor's office. But my sense is, I know for certain there's no final exams for us. So it'll just be a question of what form does our instruction look like in that last week and a half.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Well, Mr. Schenker, thank you for joining us on today's episode of Top Talk and for answering all of our questions. I hope you and your family continue to stay safe and practice social distancing.
I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you guys, and look forward hopefully being back in the building before the wrap up of the 1920 school year. So stay safe, give your parents a hug, say hello to your siblings, and I will hopefully see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Schenker.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.